man bent down to help an injured coworker. He was hit by a rubber bullet himself and knocked to the ground. The police continued beating him with batons, and when Chris could no longer endure it, he finally fought back, grabbing a baton off the ground and swinging it straight at an officer. Chris grew more and more exhilarated as he fought, screaming wildly at the police. After the chaos of the day, he returned home completely exhausted. Though Chris's work was grueling, he still had a happy family of 3. Every day when Chris came home, his wife Nia would soothe his worn-out body, and just getting to see his adorable daughter was the happiest moment of his day. But on this particular night, an uninvited guest suddenly appeared in their home. Nia had just picked up a bottle of wine when she turned around and saw a masked man behind her. After showering, Chris came downstairs into the kitchen and found his wife lying on the floor. As he stepped forward to check on her, the masked man behind him suddenly sprayed an unknown liquid at him. When Chris woke up again, he found his wife already dead beside him, and the police who arrived on the scene were all pointing their guns at him. Chris was still holding a blood-stained knife in his hand. The police immediately treated him as a wife murderer. Just like that, Chris was framed for murder and sent to a prison on an island. A gloomy-faced prison guard subjected Chris to freezing cold water and a brutal beating before he officially became an inmate. 3 crude, leering brutes ogled the fresh newcomer. The guard hadn't gone far when violent noises erupted from the cell. Thinking Chris had been thoroughly taught a lesson, the guard walked back with a grin to watch, only to find Chris leaning casually against the door with his hands in his pockets, while the 3 men lay collapsed on the floor. The next day, Chris entered the cafeteria and immediately became the center of attention, as if everyone already knew who he was. It turned out that before becoming a factory worker, Chris had been a very famous professional champion race car driver. He later disappeared from the public eye after getting married and having a child, and no one expected him to end up in prison. As people were talking, several men surrounded Chris while he was eating. They were members of the Brotherhood, deliberately looking for trouble. One man spat into Chris's tray, and the Brotherhood's leader, Mark, came up behind him. They wanted to give the newcomer a show of force, but they were about to learn they had messed with the wrong person. Mark tried to sneak attack from behind, but Chris reacted instantly, grabbing his tray to fight back and slapping it across him. The men brawled with each other, and Chris was accidentally knocked to the ground by a punch. Suddenly, armed guards rushed in and brought the situation under control. Mark was beaten until his mouth was full of blood, glaring viciously at Chris. No one expected this man to be so formidable, because he got into a fight on his very first day. Chris was taken before the warden, Casey. Casey was cold and ruthless. If Chris said even a single thing she didn't like, she would have her men strike him. But she took an interest in Chris's racing background and outstanding competition record, and wanted him to compete in the terminal island racing event known as Death Race, known